It's late, the room is dark, the only light is the phone, there's something in the cart, something you don't need, and you know you don't need it. You already told yourself earlier today that you weren't going to do this. Your thumb is hovering over the button. And here is the strange part. In this exact moment, you are not confused. You know the balance. You know the goal you set. You know how you'll feel about this tomorrow. You know all of it. And you're going to buy it anyway. We like to explain this with a single word, willpower, as if the people who save have more of it, and the people who spend have less. As if this moment, your thumb, the button, the thing you don't need, is a test of character that you are right now failing. But that explanation is wrong, not softened, not incomplete. Wrong. Because what's happening in this moment isn't a weakness in you. It's a mechanism, a specific, predictable mechanism, running exactly the way it runs in everyone. And once you can see it, the moment stops looking like a failure of character. It starts looking like a design. To understand that moment, it helps to know that a purchase is never made by one person. It's made by two sharing the same head. Psychologists often describe the mind as running two systems. The first is fast. It's automatic, emotional, and it reacts before there's time to think. It's the system that feels the pull of the thing in the cart. The second system is slow. It's deliberate and analytical, and it's the one that made the budget this morning, that ran the numbers, that formed the plan. Here's the problem that design creates. The slow, deliberate system is expensive to run. It takes effort and it tires. Every decision made across a day draws down the same limited reserve. And by late evening, after the work, the commute, the small 100 choices a day demands, that reserve is nearly empty. The fast system does not tire. It is always fully staffed. So the moment of purchase is not a fair fight between wanting and knowing. It's a fight between a system running at full strength and a system running on fumes. The outcome isn't really a mystery. It was shaped hours earlier by everything else that asked for a decision that day. But there is a deeper reason the future loses this fight, and it can be measured. Consider a simple choice. A person is offered $100 today or $105 in a month. Most people take the 100 today. The extra $5 isn't worth the wait. Now change one thing. Offer that same person $100 in 13 months or $105 in 15 months. Now most people wait. Same 2 months, same extra $5, opposite decision. Nothing changed except distance. When both rewards are far away, the person is patient. When one is close enough to touch, the patience collapses. This is called hyperbolic discounting, and the shape of it is the whole point. The value the mind assigns to a reward doesn't fade smoothly as it moves into the future. It drops off a cliff right near the present, and then it flattens out. The near future is discounted savagely. The far future is all discounted at about the same rate, which means the future isn't experienced as real in the way the present is. A goal 5 years away, the savings, the security, isn't a weaker version of a present desire. It's a different kind of thing entirely, thin and abstract, competing against something vivid and immediate. And near the moment of purchase, on the steep part of that curve, it barely competes at all. The thing in the cart is here. The reason not to buy it is somewhere on the far side of a cliff. There is one more piece, and it explains why this repeats even after the object itself is forgotten. Often, the purchase isn't really about the object. The object is a delivery mechanism for a feeling. Spending can regulate an emotion. It can relieve boredom, soften stress, answer a bad day, restore a small sense of control when the rest of life offers none. The item is almost incidental. What was really purchased was a change in how the moment felt. This is why the satisfaction fades so quickly. The feeling was the product, and feelings don't last. The object arrives, the relief it was standing in for has already evaporated, and the underlying state, the boredom, the stress, the day that went wrong, returns unchanged. And a state that returns unchanged will ask to be regulated again. So the cycle isn't a person failing to learn a lesson. It's a person using a tool that works briefly on a problem the tool was never going to solve. The spending did exactly what it was for. It just wasn't for what it appeared to be for. All of this becomes far more powerful under one specific condition, and it's the one most likely to be misunderstood. When resources feel scarce, when there isn't enough money or enough time, scarcity does something strange to the mind. It captures it. Researchers who studied this found that the feeling of scarcity narrows attention onto the thing that is scarce, a process they called tunneling. Inside the tunnel, the pressing need is handled with unusual focus. Everything outside it, long-term plans, other obligations, the future, falls out of view, and it goes further than attention. Scarcity consumes what those researchers called mental bandwidth, the same limited processing power the slow, deliberate system depends on. When a mind is occupied by the constant background hum of not enough, there's simply less capacity left over for planning, for patience, for override. The most important finding is this: behaviors that look like personal failings, impulsiveness, poor financial decisions, and inability to plan ahead may not be features of a person's character at all. They can be products of the feeling of scarcity itself. Put a person with excellent judgment under enough scarcity, and their judgment measurably degrades. Ease the scarcity, and it returns. This produces the cruelest loop in the whole system. Scarcity makes it harder to make the exact decisions that would relieve the scarcity. The state that most requires careful choices is the state that most damages the ability to make them. And it isn't only about poverty. The feeling of scarcity is not the same as the fact of it. A person with a comfortable income who feels there is never enough can be caught in the same tunnel as someone who genuinely has too little. The mind responds to the feeling, whatever produced it, which finally explains why the standard advice so rarely works. The standard advice, budget harder, show more discipline, simply want it more, is aimed at the slow, deliberate system. It assumes the problem is that the deliberate system doesn't know what to do and needs to be told, but the deliberate system already knew. It made the budget. It isn't the one who shows up at the moment of purchase. The advice is addressed to a part of the mind that isn't in the room when the decision is made. That's the error at the center of almost every attempt to fix this by force of will. It isn't that the willpower is too weak, it's that willpower is the wrong tool, aimed at the wrong moment, spoken to the wrong system. The approaches that do tend to help share a single feature. They don't rely on winning the fight at the moment of temptation. They change the situation so that the fight happens less often or on better terms. Making a distant goal concrete and immediate, something the fast system can actually feel, gives the future a fighting chance on the steep part of the curve. Reducing exposure to the triggers that manufacture wanting, the endless comparisons, lowers the number of fights that have to be won at all, and removing a decision entirely, automating it, putting it out of reach, means it no longer has to be survived in a tired moment at the end of a long day. None of that is discipline. It's design. It's arranging things so the outcome doesn't depend on being strong at the precise moment a person is least able to be. So come back to that moment. The dark room, the phone, your thumb over the button. Nothing about that moment was a verdict on who you are. The tired, deliberate system, the fast one at full strength, the future flattened by distance, the feeling you were really reaching for, the scarcity narrowing everything down to right now, all of it was running exactly as designed, in you and in everyone, whether the balance is $10 or 10 million. The people who spend less are rarely stronger. More often, they've simply arranged their lives so that fewer of these moments ever happen, so that being strong was never the thing they had to depend on. That's the part worth keeping. The moment was never a measure of your character. It was a measure of your design, and a design is something you can change.